Hello, my name is Eric Thompson, and I am going to be going over classroom procedures and cultures for the new teachers today. Thank you for joining me today for our professional development. On the table in front of you, you'll notice that there is a table tent. There's a front and a back, and what I'd like you to do is put your name on the front and your subject that you're going to be teaching. And then we are going to look at and get to know each other by playing three truths and a lie. So what you'll need to do is write three facts about it, but only two are true. So I'm going to go first, and I'm going to model this for you. And so my name is Eric Thompson. I'm the behavior interventionist here at Austin High School. And my three truths and a lie. One, I'm from Michigan. Two, I grew up in the city of Detroit. And three, I love coaching high school football. So now go ahead and take a few minutes and look at filling out your table tent so that we can then collaborate with each other and talk with each other. And I'll give you about 30 seconds to do this. While you are doing your three truths and a lie, I'm going to let you know that who my two facts are and which one's a lie. Yes, I was born in Michigan and I'm from there. Yes, I like high school coaching. And no, I did not grow up in Detroit. So I'm a farm boy. So that's kind of what we're going to do. So as you are doing your procedures and your cultures, please go ahead and write on your table tent and take a minute to share with one another in your groups. All right, now that you've had a chance to share with one another in each one of your groups, I want you to know that my information is up on the top, and I want to welcome you to the professional development once again. And so we're looking at classroom culture and procedures and how we're going to do things as a new teacher at Austin High School. So one thing I know about classroom management is, so that's our do now. When you walk into your classroom, one of the expectations here is that you have on your board every day your name, your email address, but you also look at the things that you're looking to do. So one of the best things that we do is we do a do now, and a do now could be a rubric, it could be map questions, it could be vocabulary. For us, and this one is one thing I know about classroom management is go ahead and write that prompt on your card, and from there we will move forward and we'll discuss it. I'm going to let you know that one thing I know about classroom management is that if you set protocols and criteria up at the beginning of the school year or at the beginning of your class, you're going to have much more success with classroom management. Students will test you, they will try to move around, they're going to be kids. But if you set forth the protocols and procedures at the beginning of what's going on and let the students know what their expectations are, what they can and cannot do, then I think you're going to have a very pleasurable classroom experience. Most of our students want to be engaged, they do not want to be bored, and they want to move forward. So here's some other things that HISD has done. I will show you. So now that you have had a second or two to write, to finish your following sentence stem, we're going to move on to the next part of our professional development. So one of the things we like to see is we've got our criteria, which HISD uses, which is our 1 through 10 lesson plans, and each one of them is a focus that we try to incorporate. So our engagement is going to be the objective, event, question used to engage students, connections facilitated between what students know and cannot do or can do. Then the I do, that's what the teacher does. Objects and phenomena are explored, hands-on activities with guidance. Then we have we do, students and teachers. That's kind of where we explain the lesson. Students explain their understandings of concepts and processes. New concepts and skills are introduced as conceptual clarity and cohesion are sought. So we are setting the stage on the board for exactly what we want our students to learn. So they're going to come into class, they're going to look at the board, they're going to see what the objective of the day is. They're going to do some exploration of what they're going to do. We are going to explain it together. And then we have the next part of it, which is our elaboration, which activities allow students to apply concepts and contexts and build on or extend understanding and skill. Students assess their knowledge and skills and abilities. Activities permit evaluation of student development and lesson effectiveness. So that's how we're going to pretty much incorporate our objectives on the board. So our students have engagement, exploration, there's an exploration, elaboration, and then an evaluation, which is the you do students, as you can see. So this falls into the 5E lesson planning that is going to be designed, and this will be done weekly. You will do this in your cohorts, and you will collaborate with other teachers in the same subject matter. So as you are working with each other, you will be able to stay on the same pace with the scope and sequence. You'll have lesson plans that are going to be detailed and easily followed through for. So instance, if you're out one day sick or you have to have a substitute teacher, these lesson plans will be given to the substitute teacher and they will be able to adequately provide the lesson for the students in your absence. So friendly objectives, normally on a teacher's classroom board. So new teachers, for instance, if this was the learner objective, you come into my classroom as a new teacher, it's on the board and it's going to say bang. New teachers will be able to identify necessary procedures to maximize student learning, plan out their classroom procedures and expectations to ensure a positive learning culture. So this is how we're going to put it on the board. It's student friendly, and students will be able to understand concepts of world geography in dealing with the continent of Africa. And then it'll move on. Students will be able to identify 10 countries that are sub-Saharan Africa. Okay, so it kind of lets students know what they're doing that day, how they're going to do it, and what plan they're taking place. Is there any questions right now about the objective and how we put it on the classroom board? Excellent. So next is the TSART chat up on a sticky note, excuse me. So this is an activity that I want you guys to do, and you're just going to use your sticky note that I provided for you on your desk. You're going to make a T, okay? Go ahead and put the cross on it. And one thing you already know how to do, bang, and one thing I'll need support in. A lot of the issues and questions that we have, now go ahead and write your activity down for what you know how to do and one thing you need support in. And while you're doing that, I will give you some examples. So one thing that I currently know how to do is I know how to create my lesson plan and make sure that I have student engagement and working. One thing that I'm going to need support in is help with my EL students. I have multiple bilingual students that need extra support. So in order to provide these students with support, I'm going to have to lean on the administrative team. I'm going to have to lean on the bilingual team in order to make sure that I have the support needed to educate these students rapidly. So go ahead and take a few minutes to write down and then go ahead and you can share amongst your groups. Okay, now that you've had a chance to look at each other's T-chart and assess things that you know how to do and that you're going to need support in, go ahead and set your sticky note on the side and we'll come back to that. So that way I can provide you with detailed reference of who you need to go to get that support. Okay, so now we have our I-5, and like I previously stated, we have 10 objectives that HISD looks at in dealing with our rubric system known as TADS, Teacher Appraisal and Development System. That's the system that HISD uses, and they incorporate the 10 instructional components needed. So right now we are dealing with basically instructional practice rubric. I-5 designs, teaches, and implements consistent classroom routines and procedures in order to maximize instructional time. So if you look over here on my side of my PowerPoint, it lets you know that the following best describes a teacher performing at level 3 in this criteria. Teachers are going to be evaluated on levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 is a very effective teacher, which is very, very hard to get in HISD. Now, do they get 4s? Absolutely. We have some fantastic teachers. So here's some examples of how you would get a level 3 criteria. Okay, the teacher allocates time within a lesson by selecting high-impact instructional strategies that lead students to mastery of lesson objectives. The objective is also placed on the board. Teacher effectively designs, teaches, and implements consistent classroom routines and procedures that allow students to maximize time spent on learning activities. The teacher directs classroom aides, paraprofessionals, and other classroom support personnel in a manner that effectively supports student learning and objectives. This is exactly where you would use your paraprofessional, or if you have an EL co-teacher that comes in, you have to make sure that that teacher also has the lesson, they understand what's going on so that they can support the student in your teaching. And another level 3 is students execute routines and procedures in an orderly and efficient manner with some direction from the teacher. So you'll direct them in the way that they need to go, what they need to do. You'll be walking around, you'll be visible, you'll be moving from group to group or seat to seat, making sure that students are engaged in productive learning activities from the start of class until the end of class, and little time is lost on transitions and other non-instructional activities. So the focus here is being able to move from one activity to another seamlessly without creating chaos or a lack of understanding for the students. So being able to do that is very important in order to continue to have effective classroom management strategies. So next, we're going to move on. Does anybody have any questions over, how to get a level 3 or what type of criteria is needed for you to get level 3? Excellent. All right, now our next activity. So we're going to do a shoulder partner share out. All right, so you guys are going to share, and we're going to use this deal. Shortest hair goes first. So within your groups, the person with the shortest hair is going to go first, and they're going to share with one another. And you're going to talk about strategies in which you can implement objectives. Okay, so here's what we're going to be looking at. Okay, instructional practice rubric. Okay, I-9, sets and implements discipline management procedures. So what you're going to do with your shortest hair goes first, then your partner share out, is you're going to talk to each other for about 2 minutes, and you're going to talk about how you're going to set up and implement discipline management procedures. While you are thinking about that, I wanted to let you know that teacher effectively implements district and campus discipline management procedures. These are all level 3 criteria. Teacher consistently communicates high behavioral expectations with students, addresses noncompliance, and reinforces appropriate behavior as needed. Also, the teacher maintains lesson momentum because there is no inappropriate or off-task behavior, or because the teacher redirects in a subtle and preventative manner. Teacher consistently follows through with consequences that are logical, appropriate to the level of student behavior, and effective at changing student behavior when necessary. And the last one, students demonstrate a clear understanding of behavioral expectations and rules throughout their actions. Just remember, when you create your classroom rules, make sure that these are appropriate rules that you can follow through on so that you can have consistent discipline and management procedures for these students. Go ahead and take a minute now to create your strategies that you are going to share with one another. And you have about a minute to discuss these and go. All right, now that you've had some time to implement your strategies and share with one another, we're going to transition to the next one. So we're going to also do another shoulder partner share out, but we're going to start with the most recent birthday, month, day only. Okay, so if your birthday is before your partner's birthday at your table, then you will go first. And here's what we are going to discuss. Okay, so HISD connections to a practice rubric. I-10 builds a positive and respectful classroom environment. Okay, so what you're going to be doing while I introduce what a performing at level 3 criterion is you are going to be thinking, and on your sticky notes, you are going to write down how you are going to build a positive and respectful classroom environment. So the HISD level 3 criterion is teacher demonstrates caring and respect for all students and creates a positive, energetic, and orderly climate and culture in the classroom. Teacher communicates and reinforces expectations for positive student behavior and interactions between students, including a respect for individual, cultural, and linguistic differences. And that's the part that I need help with. I need to make sure that I am making sure that our EL students are getting the proper instruction, because I am not bilingual. So therefore, that's where I've got to reach out to the admin team and make sure that we are following the protocols and procedures needed to have a respectful classroom environment. Teacher arranges and organizes furniture, supplies, reference material, and student work in a way that supports learning activities. And students demonstrate respect by actively listening and responding positively to each other and to the teacher. So that's how we're going to look at building a positive and respectful classroom environment. So go ahead and take a minute now and collaborate with one another on how you think you need to build a positive and respectful classroom environment. And you may begin. Some strategies that I use to build a positive classroom environment is I'm always at my door. I shake in their hands when they come in. letting them know that they're welcome. I have pencils and paper available for students that do not have that. They don't even have to ask. They just know they can go get their pencil and paper as they come in. I always have the objective on the board so that when students come in, they see what they're going to do. If they need to get colors to do a map worksheet, or if they need to fill out a dictionary to work on vocabulary, everything's right there. And I also have bilingual books for my students that do not speak English. So therefore they can look through there and they can see it in Spanish, they can see it in English, and then they're able to navigate their way through the lesson as we go. Now that you've had a chance to talk to each other and pair and share, we're going to go to the next one. Okay, now then this next pair and sharing is we're going to go the tallest goes first. So normally that would put me second or third since I'm a pretty short guy. So here's what our focus is going to be on. Okay, so we are going to look at a video and we are going to watch this video and we're going to see how the video made us feel. This video made me feel. Okay, and this video is a YouTube video and we're going to move from there quickly. Okay, so we can see that that video has definitely some chaos. Okay, so the point of the video is you need to write down how it made you feel. To me, it made me feel kind of chaotic, a little bit crazy. It was very um, very different. A lot of crowdedness, a lot of unknowing, and so our students might deal with the same types of information that we're dealing with, and trying to figure out how we are going to navigate through class, especially if they don't understand the language and they're struggling to see how things work. So in order to make our students feel more successful, we have to make sure that there is precise direction and there's a plan. You know, that street in Ethiopia didn't have stoplights, it didn't have things that might have been needed. So in order for that to continue to work, we got to make sure that our students are comfortable, not anxious, not anxiety, and not losing their minds at that point. Okay, so as I fix my content video here real quick. All right, so all right, so it's popcorn time. Go ahead and talk to your people. How did the video make you feel? What do you feel is going on with that video? Can you relate that video to your classroom strategies and classroom management? You have about a minute to talk about that, and go. All right, now that you've had some time to discuss the video and how that made you feel, okay, so we need to understand that the importance of establishing effective procedures. A smooth running classroom is the responsibility of the teacher and the result of the teacher's ability to teach procedures. So those procedures need to be taught from day one. When you come in and you start teaching those procedures and the things that need to happen in order for your class to be successful, that's the important part that we're looking for. That's going to give you a good criteria. That's going to let the teachers understand, or the students understand, what they need to do to be successful and how to operate in your class. Okay, as you watch this clip, consider Mr. Curry was productive or unproductive because, and we're going to watch another YouTube clip real quick. I hope. Okay, so Mr. McCurry was productive or unproductive because, okay, so in that video, what was he doing? He was creating protocols for his class on how they're going to hand out paper. He's teaching how he wants it done, modeling how he wants it done, explaining how he wants it done in a timely manner so that he has very productive, engaging class that flows constantly and consistently. So was he productive or unproductive? I believe he was productive because he got his procedures taken care of and handled. The students knew exactly what they were doing. They passed the papers to and from, and therefore he was productive in that modeling. All right, so go ahead and take a minute, high five, share out, high five your partner, and share your thoughts. You have about a minute. All right, while you guys are finishing up your high five share outs on Mr. McCurry being productive or unproductive, okay, we're going to take a look at the next slide. So here's what we're going to do. We've created this slide. It's a little bit crazy, but if you could only save 1 minute from 10 transitions a day, how much time would you have created in 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 school year? Okay, so we've looked at some calculations and moved, and we figured out that in 1 day you can save about 10 minutes. Okay, so we look at when we look at a week, you're looking at 30 minutes in a week, 90 minutes in a month, 3,250 in a year, and you're going to approximately save 60 days of 50-minute classroom time or 36 days of block days if you save 1 minute in transitioning from one objective to another, from one skill to the next skill. So we want to be very, very time conscious, and we want to make sure that we have procedures in place so that we flow and we move from one transition to another so that we don't start losing this time. As you see here, we could be losing a lot of time in instructional time here. Huh? I threw that in there because a lot of people don't understand how valuable our 50 minutes are, and that if you don't have proper classroom management and transition, you start losing this time. Here's another slide for you. So it kind of lets you know that if you have a very ineffective classroom, that you're going to be wasting a lot of time and you're going to be losing out on valuable educational content that those people could get, or your students should be able to learn. All right. So what we want is we want that smooth train to run down the tracks. Okay. Our procedures are the railroad tracks. Content is the train. Okay. if what we need is good tracks or you're going to have a massive pile up. Okay, so those are our goals. This is what we're shooting for. Okay, so we're going to use the next strategy here, and we are going to turn and talk. Okay, you're going to turn away from your shoulder partner, and we're going to discuss this activity. What would classroom visitors see students and teachers doing in a classroom where instructional time is maximized? A visitor should see students. A visitor should see teachers. Go ahead and turn, share, and talk. You have about 1 minute to talk and go. While you guys are talking, I'm going to share my thoughts with you. I believe a visitor should see students engaged, learning, excited about learning, their head up, transitioning from one activity to another, and following the objectives on the board without confusion, without a ton of questions. Everything should be pretty crystal clear. And a visitor should see a teacher who is giving instruction, walking around and checking for questions or problems, making sure that the students are staying on task, and walking around and monitoring, being there to help students, not sitting behind your desk, not hanging on the board, not lecturing the whole time, but instructing, letting the students visualize it by either the teacher modeling it or the teacher actually showing people how to do the work. I know math teachers put the problem on the board, they work through it together, and then they put another problem on the board, they work through it again, then they put another problem on the board, and then the students model what they saw the teacher doing with the previous two. So when they were doing that, they were able to see and move and transition and see things step by step. So we want to make sure that we are maximizing our instructional time. Okay, steps for teaching procedures. Okay, you got to plan, explain, rehearse, and reinforce your procedures. If you're able to do that, it starts with planning. Plan the expectations that you want to have. Plan how you're going to explain the questions to the students that they have. Make sure you're rehearsing your procedures and staying consistently. And when something happens, you reinforce it with positive behavior. I believe that if a student acts up in your classroom, you can correct that behavior with positive reinforcement without throwing the student out or getting into a confrontation with that student. It's all about having good classroom management skills. Okay, 3 awesome look for. So when APs come to your classrooms, they're going to be doing multiple walkthroughs and visits for your classroom. And so things they're going to be looking for. Be at your door during the passing period, welcome students, encouraging students to hurry into our classes. Objective, student-friendly and measurable objective, visible and accessible to students. You need to make sure you have an agenda, dividing your classroom time, again, visible and accessible to students. So your do now might be 5 minutes. Your we do might be at 10 minutes, okay? And then you might have your instruction, which might be 10 more minutes. And then you're going to have student work time so that they can actually sit there and work. And that should be probably 20 minutes of your 50 minutes. But you want to have that time broken right down so each student knows how long or how short they need to plan or to work to be able to meet the objective for the day. Okay, so keeping it light and funny. I found some memes on the internet. So, you know, what now? I just thought that was pretty neat, and we were encouraged to utilize some memes into our presentation. So when you start looking, the next slide is going to show you how I organize textbooks and bookshelves in my classroom. What I did is I just took painting numbers and ran it across there, and you can see 1 through 20. That way I can tell if things are put up and put into place, if a book is missing. And because we have class sets of books and we need to share here, I want to make sure that all my books get put back. Plus, if that way, if I need to check a book out to a student for the night, I can say, okay, boom, student checked out book 20, and therefore I can see if everything has been taken care of. This is for me, a very organized classroom. Here's some other ideas and some other ways that you could set up your classroom for some success. Okay, got world history right there, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. This week we're going to do what? Okay, if you have multiple preps, must do for all preps. It'll save you time from what are we doing tomorrow, or I didn't know that was due yesterday. Just if you be organized and you can keep that visual up on the board for those students to see, you're going to have much more success because of what they're looking to do. Okay, here's another example that I stole from somebody's classroom. She has her PREP, BYE, pick up any supplies, read the agenda, engage in the bell activity, put your homework in the basket, be in your assigned seat. Your desk area must be tidy and exit class only when instructions. So those are her protocols, and that's the way that she has put that up on the board, and I thought that was pretty neat. Here's another example. So this is a very organized classroom. It's got the resources to the right. We have the technology workstation. We have an area of tables so that we're working in cooperative groups versus just standardized desks. So the only problem with having this set up is that you have to be creative when you give out tests. You have to have folders that divide and go on and so forth. So for there, here's another example. Okay, with partner sharing, cooperative groups, whole groups, class resources, student supplies. Okay, it lets you know that that's a very classroom. I'm sorry, a very organized classroom. You can see their student work up on the wall, and you can tell up there that the objectives, I'm sure, are going to be on the whiteboard there. Okay, another example of what's going on in some quality classes here. Okay, this is probably my favorite one. It has student work hanging from the ceilings. Now I know due to fire marshal and some other laws that we can't do that here, but I really enjoyed that. You had the welcome, a place where the students can doodle and write on the board. You have your cooperative groups. You got your whole group learning stations. You have student work posted up around the room. You have rules on the back and procedures. You have all the setup that's there. They even brought in a plant to give it a home feel. Okay. All right. There's multiple ways to do room arrangements, especially when we start looking at collaboration and group work types of stuff. Some teachers do the circles, inner and outer circles. Some are just, have your half square shapes, and you have your collaboration desks. Here's examples of seating charts. This really works best because you need to make sure that we have a seating chart for the students, so that way if the substitute shows up, that substitute knows where each student is and can be efficient while they're there working. You don't want to have a substitute come in and your classroom be unorganized and nothing gets done for the day, and now when you show up again tomorrow, you've got to redo the lesson that should have been taught the day before. But that's your fault as the teacher because you left an unorganized lesson plan because you weren't organized. So please be organized, make sure you have seating charts, make sure that stuff is available. So if people come to your classrooms and to your rooms, things can be taken care of that way. Okay. I also recommend, we have students here that do get done early. They work really hard to get done. So I would make sure that I had some things on there for early finishers, making sure that if they get done early, there's a system in place that they can look to do their things. Okay. And there's some perfect examples right there. Okay. Here's the Frayer model setup. Okay, entering class, procedures. Okay, brainstorming, different things like that. If this is a model that you would like to use for your classroom management, I suggest it. It's good. I have some teachers here that use this, and they seem to like it. And the students understand the 3 procedures that they're going to do. It gives them a choice. They're not just doing one and one only. This gives students with multiple learning styles a chance to maybe pick one choice that they enjoy or they're engaged in versus one that they're made or mandatory to do. Okay, when we start looking at the you-do, make a list of frequent tasks your students will be asked to do in the classroom, decide how students will complete them, such as how are we going to turn in papers, how are we going to pass back tests, how are we going to make sure that we have things set up, how are we going to take care of the books since they're class set, how are we going to put these books back up to make sure that we have great classroom organization. So, again, I do believe in trying to keep this professional development fun and creative. So, this year is going to be awesome. Let's get it. So we got from there. Oh, wait a minute. There's more. Remember, who's who? We got to go back over who's who and think about one more thing. But to end this professional development, what I would really like is I would like for you to provide some feedback. One thing I could improve about this session, one thing that I liked about this session, if you could write that on your sticky and hand that on the way out, that would help me grow as an administrator and help me create a lesson that's going to be much more entertaining and much more enjoyable for you. So here's your exit ticket. I want to thank you guys for showing up and coming. I'm really excited about this year, And again, as you are leaving, if you could give me one thing that I can grow on and one thing that I can glow on, I would appreciate it. Thank you so much and enjoy your year.